Shalawam, and welcome back to The Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Basayawan, returning with this marvelous study called Angels. And now we are in part 5. We're going to conclude the angels call the powers. So let's get started. What we call magic, spells, obia, voodoo, witchcraft, and enchantments today are the manifestations of evil powers conjured up by their evil earthly agents. Today, magicians, witches, and warlocks are celebrated, and we have been desensitized for generations concerning witches. All right? Because now we have witches being part of society. Now they have a voice. And what made them come out from the darkness where they used to operate is because of the Hollywood productions, the television shows, the movies. Okay? Because back in the day, witches and warlocks were shunned. Some of them were destroyed. All right? But not today. Today they have a big voice. And witchcraft now is the method of darkness being performed to bring spells, to bring people under spells with their enchantments. Because they do have enchantments. Okay? And some people are foolish enough to repeat the enchantments. They have their hand gestures. And some people are foolish enough to mimic their hand gestures, thinking, that's just a sign to show that I'm cool. My favorite actor is doing it. My favorite singer is doing it. My favorite politician is doing it. So why not I? Why can't I do it? And this is how they hook people and bring them under their spells. People enjoy watching a man levitate and doing what is impossible for the average man to do. You got some people that they eat glass, they eat metal, they eat all kinds of things that normal people cannot eat and live. From the time you put it in your mouth, you could perish. How about when you swallow it? If it was possible for you to swallow it. Okay? But you have people that make it into world records because they can do these things and they're still living. What made them able to chomp down on glass and still live? What made them able to eat metal and still live? It is none other than these unclean spirits. There are lots of them. Because remember, 1/3 of the angels fell, and some of them were these powers. So they gave these agents the ability to do these things because they used them as ways to mesmerize the populations around the world, to make people marvel that this person has a very special gift. It's not a gift, it's a possession. And so they use these methods to desensitize the masses. All right? And it's all due to these evil powers either possessing them or working on their behalf. People are fascinated when it comes to magic because it has been popularized by movies and television shows throughout the decades to indoctrinate the masses. And we looked at that when we were looking at the study called The Rise and the Fall of the Nephilim. All right? Showed you all the way back in the 50s how they popularized witchcraft with a show called Bewitched. And it made it seem like she was a good witch. There's no such thing as a good witch. There's no such thing as good magic. It's all the powers of darkness operating on one level or another. There's nothing good about it. You know, like some people go into the magic shops and buy those little trinkets to play tricks on their friends. It's all witchcraft. Stay away from it. Oh yeah, they say it's because of the way how you move your hands. They call it the sleight of hands. It's all witchcraft. Stay away from it. Because you dabble in a little bit of it, then you become so totally engrossed by learning more. And the more you learn, the darker it grows. It's like martial arts. A lot of people think martial arts is all about getting physically fit. That's the selling point. But the higher you climb in that craft, the darker you enter into, the darkness you enter into in order to do some of the things that you're told to do. I've heard of people, they say, well, when you get to a certain level in black belt, you should be able to go outside and it's freezing cold and you start to sweat because you're hot. Or vice versa, it's hot out, but you can make yourself cold. These that kind of work is the work of powers. I've heard people talking about it that practice this craft. Another craft too is yoga. All right? All of these are ways in which the evil powers, the wicked agents on this earth has infiltrated mankind, bringing their crafts but packaging them to make them seem harmless. Okay? Stay away from them. I know some churches now, they have yoga time. All right. Most people see it as harmless fun, meaning magic, which is what these devils want, so that they, the devils, can become familiar and acceptable with people and be invited into their homes and into their lives. And this is what they've done with all these things I've mentioned about. You have the magic, you have the witchcraft that was made popular by that Potter little boy that went to school for wizards. And not only that, no, you have other areas in which witchcraft is a part of yoga and martial arts. Okay? All of these they have made popular. How? By using social media, television shows, movies, and what have you. to encourage the masses that their favorite entertainer do these things in order to stay fit, keep fit, and look fit. And the magic is just harmless fun. You just wave this wand and something appears. Isn't that cool? They want you to think that nothing was there and then all of a sudden something appear. Wouldn't it be cool to have that kind of magic power? And so you search and you delve in to that darkness, and then you can't find your way back out. It comes and it takes over your life. All right. Once you get into witchcraft, it's hard to get out. It is for this reason why Yahweh warned Yashwa'al to stay away from every form of witchcraft, as they are the devices of these evil powers. We today must also heed Yahweh's warnings about these evil fallen angels, as they seek to trap you in their snares, making you beholden to them. And once trapped, it is not that easy to be released from their evil talents. Now, the evil powers will also use other unclean spirits to do their bidding on behalf of these earthly agents. So it's not limited to evil powers, but they're the ones that does the conjuring. All right, they can also use other unclean spirits to make it seem like they have this great power, but it is another spirit at work, either a Nephilim spirit or a fallen angel. They all work hand in hand to bring about evil manifestations on this earth. But these ones, the evil powers, are strongly connected to witchcraft in all its various forms. Okay? It is like being in a bad relationship. You want to leave, but you have no willpower to do so. So that's what it's like when you are trapped in witchcraft. Right? People that are trapped in witchcraft, they want to get out, but they just don't have the willpower to do so because the evil powers, they take over. All right? They take over. It's like a possession. Let's go to the Barayam, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 9. When you come into the land which Yahweh Alahayam, that is your Alahayam personal, when he gives the land which Yahweh Alahayam gives to you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. So, witchcraft in all its forms is a there are abominations to Yahweh. So you go and you buy this little magic kit. That is an abomination. Get rid of it. Okay? And worse yet, people buy them for their children. And then they wonder why their children have behavioral problems. This is the reason why you've just given your child on a silver platter to the devils. You just handed your own precious baby to these devils. When you go and you buy these things, whether it is a book reading about them or the actual kits, magic kits, get costumes. You dress them up like witches and warlocks because you think they look so cool. But all you're doing is allowing the darkness to settle in your child's life. And then when you see your child acting up, you wonder, what happened? What happened to my baby? Used to be so sweet, and all of a sudden, he or she is acting up. And getting worse every day. All right. Verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, that's witchcraft, or an observer of times, that's a soothsayer, predicting the future. We know a lot of false prophets and prophetesses, they like to predict the future. That's who they are. They are observers of times. They're soothsayers. It's witchcraft. Or an enchanter, that's a fortune teller, or someone who observes omens, or a witch, or a charmer, someone who ally themselves with evil spirits, or a consulter with familiar spirits, that those kind of people that do seances, or a wizard, or a necromancer. They're conjuring up spirits to know the future. These are all levels of witchcraft that Alahayam, Yahweh warned Yashwa'al, stay away from these abominations. And this is the reason why I'm destroying the nations around you. And the land that they're living in, I'm going to give to you. Let's read on. Verse 12. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh. So the people that are committing the abominations by doing these things, all these different kinds of witchcraft, the people themselves also become abominations. And when Alahayam calls you an abomination, that means that you're done. You're destroyed. Verse 15. Let's see if I left off at. Yes, no. Let me finish off 12. And because of these abominations, Yahweh Alahayam will drive them out from before you. You shall be perfect with Alahayam Yahweh. That word perfect does not mean what you think it means. Doesn't mean that you have to be flawless, not making any mistakes. No, it means being complete with Yahweh. When you're complete with Him, that means that you're worshiping Him, you're serving Him, you love Him. So no, He completes you. You're in Him and He's in you. So then He now can perfect you further by removing the darkness from within, the sin, the iniquities, the transgressions, so that you can continue walking in His light, living in holiness and in righteousness. That's what makes us perfect. Verse 14. For these nations which you shall possess hearkened unto observers of times, and unto diviners. But as for you, Yahweh Alahayak has not suffered you to do so, or so to do, rather. So Alahayam is warning Yashwa'al then, stay away from witchcraft. And he's warning us today, stay away from witchcraft. There's so many different layers to witchcraft that if you are not aware, then you can be practicing witchcraft without even knowing it. Okay? We know from a previous study that Alahayam gave all the nations on the earth other spirits to worship, to lead them astray from him, except his people, Yashraal. Now, in saying that, I will also say this. There are even many of our brethren who believe because they're Yashraal that they're safe. But they too also have other spirits that have led them away from Alahayam. How do I know this? Because they're still calling on Jesus and Lord and God and Christ, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, all the pagan gods' titles and names they're serving. So Alahayam has given them, even our brethren, these spirits to draw them away from him. Because he already knows what is in their hearts. And there's nothing good in there. It is because of these evil spirits that have led these nations and even nations today into abominations. And that's why our brethren today, they don't have a problem committing abominations. They're out there bloodletting, claiming that they're sacrificing animals. They're doing all kinds of wickedness because of evil spirits. He listed all the evil deeds that these nations were doing, and we're seeing the same abominations are being done today and happily accepted as commonplace. Gone are the days when witchcraft in all its evil forms were rejected by the common folks, and their workers were treated as outcasts. But we today are not to do as the other nations are doing, as we are called to a holy and righteous standard, making us complete in Him, making us perfect in Him. We know that these devils love to mimic what Alahayam instruct his angels to do. We saw this occurring when the magicians of Matsarayam copied the first few miracles that Ahawaran did. So remember when Ahawaran threw down the rod, and they threw down their rods, and they became serpents, but Ahawaran's rod ate up the rods of the magician. Then the next plague was to turn the water into blood. They were able to do it because of their evil powers were permitted by Alahayam Yahweh to do that. And then when Ahawaran caused frogs to come upon the land, they too were able to call up their evil powers to do the same thing, to conjure up the same thing. But after that, the evil powers were shut down by Alahayam Yahweh. They were not able to continue on with their magic. What Ahawaran was doing was called miracle. There were miracles. What the magicians in Matsarayam were doing, we call it magic. Totally different. Let's read on. And now, in the coming future, the people on the earth will once again witness quote unquote miracles. That's what Yawachanan called it, or called them, at the hand of the anti Messiah. But it will be these evil powers performing their evil works as they will possess this evil earthly agent. All right, and it will only be one power possessing the anti-Messiah. There's going to be one power that will possess the beast empire number 8, that will be Azazel. And then there will be an evil power that will possess the image of the beast. There's also a power that will possess the mother of harlots. So there are 4 of them. Gadriel will be ousted from beast empire number 7, and later on he'll be cast into the bottomless pit. But he now has been benched. Okay? He'll be benched when all this is happening. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Now people would think that's a miracle, but that's the result of evil powers. Evil powers at work, one possessing the anti-Messiah or the false prophet, and the other one is also helping to bring about this fire coming down from heaven. And they're mimicking what Alahayam does with his holy powers. Okay? Verse 14. And deceives them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. So even though Yawakanam is calling them miracles, it's actually magic. Magic conjured up by these evil powers. We have to understand the order of the evil angels at work amongst us. We have Satan, which is a title which means accuser of the brethren. It is a title given to fallen angels of the highest order, and there are 5 of them. One is currently locked away in the bottomless pit, and his name is Azazel, who is also an evil power. There are 4 others roaming the earth, bringing about all the chaos and wickedness that we have heard about in the past, and we're seeing even more wickedness at work today. The leader of these Satans and all of the fallen angels, including the Nephilim spirits, is Gadriel, the once anointed seraph, and we looked at that in part 1. The remaining 3 Satans are also evil powers, and this will be revealed to us in the vision that Yochanan the apostle saw and documented in the book of Revelation. Let's go to Revelation chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to battle of that great day of Alahayam Shaddai. So this would be the battle of Harmageddon, or Harmageddon. And that will be the battle that Hamashiach, when he returns to the earth as king, before he establish his rule on the earth, he has to destroy these 3 powers. All right? But before he attends to that, he will establish his tabernacle on Mount Saiwan, and he will also bring together once again the 2 kingdoms, the southern kingdom that will ride with him and be returned to the earth, and the northern kingdom, to make us one kingdom, one nation again. When we become one kingdom, one nation, then we are going to ride out with him for this battle. But it's not going to be a battle because he's going to open his mouth and they are going to melt where they stand, them and the beast on which they sit. And these three spirits, like frogs, will be cast into the lake of fire along with the mother of harlots. Alahayam will deal with, has actually, he hasn't done it yet. He will deal with the mother of harlot, and that will be the first evil power, the first Satan that will be cast into the lake of fire. Then will be these three that Hamashiach is going to destroy as well. And the last, which is Gadriel, Alahayam Yahweh will deal with him himself. Because we will be living safely in the land. We will be there for 1,000 years in our own land. And after 1,000 years, Gadriel will be released out of the bottomless pit, and he's going to bring about his armies once again to come and try to war against us, living safely in our land. But before they can reach us, Alahayam Yahweh is going to destroy the people on the horses, the creatures, and the animals that they're riding upon. Okay, I did that study in the Revelation series. Okay, but we will not have to war ever again. The Southern Kingdom, our time of warring is over. The Northern Kingdom, they will have to war against the Beast Empire number 7. That's their time to be martyred, the time of Yaakob's troubles. And once they're finished, then they will never have to war again. We will just watch and see our enemies being destroyed. Just like our forefathers when they left Goshen, after they crossed the Red Sea, they turned around and they watched their enemies being destroyed in the Red Sea. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. No more fighting for us by this time. Let's read on. We have to understand. Okay, I read that already. The remaining 3 Satans are also evil powers, and I read that already as well. I'm so sorry. I get so distracted. Sometimes I can keep it in my mind where I've left off, and then there are times I'm like, okay, where did I leave off? Okay, so I'm way past that. So now I'm going to read Revelation chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. And I know I've read this already. Oh my goodness. All right, let's read on. So, verse 14, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to battle that great day of Alahayam Shaddai. I know, I've read that already. We have to also understand who or what is being possessed. Gadriel will only possess world dominating kingdoms, and anything less than that is beyond him. Remember what caused him to fall in the first place. He was the number 1 angel, the anointed cherub that was highly decorated. So he's not going to want to possess a mere man. He will want to possess kingdoms. Okay? Which leaves the evil powers to possess persons and things to bring about their desired illusions and wickedness. Yawachanan saw the evil powers which looked like frogs exiting their host bodies. The false prophet, who is the anti Messiah as well, that's one and the same, will be possessed by an evil power. The dragon will be the image of the beast empire and will be possessed by an evil power. And the beast will be the beast empire number 8, which will be possessed by an evil power as well, and this will be Azazel. But what about the other Satan? It has already possessed the religious entity called the mother of harlots, waiting to arise, waiting to show itself. I will take over when Gadriel is dethroned from Beast Empire number 7. So remember what's going to happen. Beast Empire number 7 is going to be a technology-based empire, which is going to be very, very, very powerful. The seal number 6, the great earthquake, is going to destroy all technology and dethrone Gadriel. So this empire is going to go underground. It's going to rise up again, but it's not even going to be as powerful as it was before. A mere shell of itself. Okay? But it will be possessed by Azazel, who will be released from the bottomless pit. And because it is so weak, it will need the mother of harlots, which will be the next great power on the earth, because it will be a very wealthy entity. Or it's going to be religious, and it's also going to be deeply involved in commerce, trade and commerce. So it's going to be extremely wealthy. That's why the captains and the sailors and all these people that sold their goods to this entity, because it's going to be like a city, a port city. And when it starts to burn, then the people that sold to it will weep, because there'll be no one else to buy their goods. But this entity will be riding the beast, because it will control the beast, and the beast will hate it because it does not want to be controlled, but it doesn't have a choice. All right? So this religious entity is waiting to arise. Yahweh will destroy this entity himself, and he will destroy Gadriel, meaning the mother of harlots and Gadriel. Whereas Hamashiach will destroy the 3 evil powers, which Yawachanan call spirits like frogs, and will cast them into the lake of fire. And this will be the end of these Satans forever. The evil powers are none other than copycats, as they do not have any original powers to display. This anti-Messiah will display his magic, which shows us again what was previously done by the prophet Alahayam. So let's see what the prophet Elijah did. And let's go to 2nd Malachayam, 2nd Kings, chapter 1, verse 10. And Alahayam answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of Alahayam, then let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him, meaning the captain, and his 50, meaning his 50 soldiers. So Alahayam called for fire to come and consume this captain and his 50 men. And it happened because Alahayam instructed the holy powers to do this thing. Okay? So fire coming from heaven is not an original trick. It's not, well, when it comes to Alahayam, it was a miracle. But when it comes to the evil powers, It's one of their tricks. All right? But it is not original with them. It did not originate with them. It originated with Alahayam Yahweh and his holy powers. Okay? Today we're seeing more and more evidence of these evil powers at work as their reign on the earth is soon coming to an end. We are warned by Hamashiach that there will be a great increase of deception on the earth, so this should not come to us as a surprise. Are the holy powers still at work today? Now that's a good question. They are still at work, but not the same as in the days of our forefathers, and here's why. We see the evidence of the holy powers at work even in the days of Hamashiach, but not that much because he was here on the earth, and the powers that they have to manifest the miracles and healings came from him. As he was here on the earth in the flesh, he manifested his own power in the form of healings and miracles, just like he instructed his holy powers to do. We see the evidence of this at the pool of Bethesda. So let's go to the book of John, Yochanan chapter 5, verse 2. Now there is at Yerushalayim by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Oberite tongue Bayath Chasadaa, that is Bethesda, the house of mercy, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. Now, forgive me if when you hear me talk about holy powers, because I'm using it as a group, not necessarily talking about one particular holy power. All right? In this case, there was a holy power that would come down and stir the water, and the first person that got into the pool, they were healed. That's how we know it was a holy power that did this, because that's their gift. That's their duty, is to bring healing and to bring miracles upon the earth. They're the ones that manifest healings and miracles. Okay? And these are aspects of the power of Alahayam. Okay? So that's how we know that this was, in fact, a holy power that did this. Let's read on to verse 5. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. He was 38 years old. When Yahushua saw him lie, and knew that he had been long time in that case, he said unto him, Will you be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I'm coming, another stepped down before me. Yahushua said unto him, Rise, take up your bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was Hashabbath. What we are witnessing here at the pool of Bethesda was the transition of the holy powers performing their miracles to that of Hamashiach using his power for his miracles. So once again, I'm using it in plural because there were more works that the holy powers did around this time, well, throughout that time until, because remember, this stirring of the pool happened at a certain time, I guess every year, or rather it was every week or every month. We don't know. Okay? But there was a certain time that this pool was stirred, so these people had to wait for it to occur. Okay? Because if they knew when it was going to happen by the water, but they don't know when this was going to happen. I mean, this is a hot country. So they're going to be looking for shelter and waiting in the shelter to see and watch the water to see if it starts to move. Once it starts to move, then they got to find their way into the water. If they had help, then someone can help them quickly to get into the water first. All right? So this was the issue that Alahayam knew, that even though he sent the holy powers to perform healings and miracles on behalf of his people, they were limited. Okay? They were limited because only one person at a time got healed. So now Alahayam is going to transition the holy powers into someone else. So let's read on. Let me start over again. What we're witnessing here at the pool of Bethesda was the transition of the holy powers performing their miracles to that of Hamashiach using his power for his miracles. What happened next was another transition where he then passed on this role to Rawak HaKadosh, because even Hamashiach, he too was limited to the area that he was in. Even when he sent his disciples out, they too, even though they had a portion of his power to heal and to do miracles, they too were limited to how many people that they can reach all at the same time. And that's why Alahayam released Rawak HaKadosh to do the work that the holy powers used to do. Okay? Because now Ruach HaKadosh is accessible to everyone at the same time. He is not limited. His power is not limited. His reach is not limited. After Hamashiach died and rose again, he released his Ruach Kadash to be Alahayam of power on the earth to help everyone, only if they believed in him, Hamashiach. Because Hamashiach will release his Ruach to whoever believes in him. The power of Ruach HaKadosh is infinite as compared to the holy powers, and so he has replaced them. The holy powers are still being used by Alahayam to fight spiritual battles when the need arises. It is now Ruach HaKadosh who empowers us to fight certain battles, unlike the holy powers who cannot empower us. So that's another thing. The holy powers were used to fight our battles, our forefathers' battles, or fight alongside our forefathers. We're going to see that in a minute. Whereas Ruach HaKadosh comes in and empowers us with his power. So he is fighting the battles using us because he has endued us, or we are endowed with his power. And once we have his power, it activates him to fight that battle. Okay? And we're going to see examples of this. In the testament of the 12 patriarchs, we saw evidence of Yahweh fighting his enemies, but it was the powers that fought by his side. As compared to Ka'apa'a, who was filled, that is Peter, by the way, who was filled with the power of Ruach HaKadosh and spoke his words of healing to a man at the beautiful gate. We're going to see these two examples. Now, the testament of the 12 patriarchs, I will encourage you to read them. Okay? Read this book. Let's go to chapter 3, verse 2. And the other, the king of Tapua, as he sat upon his horse, I slew. Now, this is Yahweh, our forefather, the patriarch, the son of Yaokab. Okay, so he's giving his testimony of his days when he was a warrior. All of the sons of Yaokab were warriors. Yaokab himself was a warrior. The only Abraham was a warrior. The only forefather that was not a warrior was Yitzhak. Okay? And so I scattered all his people. Achor the king, a man of giant stature, I found, hurling javelins before and behind as he sat on horseback. And I took up a stone of 60 pounds weight and hurled it and smote his horse and killed it. That is power, but this power came from a holy power. And I fought with this other for 2 hours, and I clave his shield in two, and I chopped off his feet and killed him. And I was stripping off his breastplate. Behold, 9 men, his companions, began to fight me. And I wound my garment on my hand, meaning he wrapped it around his hand, and I slung stones at them. So he used it like a, what do you call those things? When you throw stones. Dawad used it to slay Goliath, a sling. He used it like a sling. He used the garment like a sling, and he slung stones at them and killed 4 of them, and the rest fled. And Yaakov, my father, slew Baal Lesaph, king of all the kings, a giant in strength, 12 cubits high. So you see, our forefathers were warriors. They were mighty. We don't see it, a lot of this evidence in the Bible. The Bible does hint at it because we know that Abraham went and fought those kings. I believe there were 5 kings that took his nephew Lot and his family and his servants and his cattle, and he took a few hundred men and went after these kings and slaughtered them. And not one of his people were lost, not one of his servants were lost in the battle. So we know that they were warriors. And we know, and if you go back to the books like the book of Jubilees and the book of Yashar, and you read about the things that our forefathers used to do, that is not written down in the Bible, but some of the things are confirmed in the Bible. We know that they had extraordinary abilities. And let me just say this: the evil, wicked powers, you know how they like to do the superheroes? That's their in well, it's not in that's their way of copying what our forefathers used to do. One of our forefathers, I believe it was Naphtali, he was swift of foot. He can run very fast. So they developed their own swift of foot hero and call him Flash, and so on and so forth. Some of it they embellished and they give them a backstory. This person was bitten by a spider, so they became, you know. But really and truly, when you read about our forefathers, you realize that they were super strong, super powerful. All right, let's read on. And fear fell upon them, and they ceased warring against us. Therefore, my father was free from anxiety in the wars when I was with my brethren. For he saw in a vision concerning me that an angel of might, that's power, followed me everywhere that I should not be overcome. So, our forefather, Yahweh, had a holy power following him wherever he went. And not just him, the other brothers too. They all had remarkable strengths, remarkable powers. All right. So let's move on now to the book of Acts, chapter 3, verse 2. And a certain man lame from his mother's womb was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple. Who seeing Ka'apa'a, who's Peter, Yochanan, who's John, about to go into the temple, asked on alms. And Ka'apa'a, fastening his eyes upon him, said, fastening his eyes upon him with Yochanan, said, Look on us. And he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Then Ka'apa'a said, Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I you. In the name of Yahweh Hamashiach of Nazareth, rise up and walk. So the very same words or the instructions that you see Hamashiach giving the man in Bethesda, by the pool of Bethesda, you see Ka'apa'a imitating those same words, because the same power that Hamashiach is was now in Ka'apa'a through Ruach HaKodesh, because he was filled with Ruach HaKodesh on the day of Pentecost. Okay? And not only him, but the other apostles as well. Verse 7. And he took him by the right hand and lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. And he leaping up stood and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising Alahayam. And all the people saw him walking and praising Alahayam, and they knew that it was he who sat for alms at the beautiful gate of the temple. And they were filled with wonder and amazement at that which had happened unto him. So they were filled with wonder. Why? Because Hamashiach told his disciples, signs and wonders will follow them. Another point that we have to consider is that Ruach HaKodesh can dwell within us and work through us in this manner, while angels are not permitted to dwell within us, as it will be possession. The evil powers and the evil angels and the Nephilim spirits, they all possess people, things, and animals. But the holy angels are not allowed to possess us. No different than the evil spirits like frogs possessing the evil earthly entities. So the evil spirits like frogs that possess the entities, that is a form of possession. We were created to be the vessels of Alahayam. So he is free to enter in us. And so we see a difference between Yahweh, who is Judah, and Ka'apa'a, as the holy powers followed Yahweh, while Ka'apa'a was filled with Ruach HaKadosh. Miracles followed both men, and the source of the power of the miracles still came from Alahayam. But Ka'apa'a had the advantage over Yahweh, as he had the source of power within him. So Peter had the advantage over Judah, our forefather, because Ka'apa'a, who is Peter, had the power in him, and it was always in him and with him. With Yahweh, who is Judah, the holy power followed him. Okay? Let us look at another perfect example of how the holy powers would not possess a man, but they performed their miracles as Yahweh commanded them. So let's go back to 2nd Malachayam, that's 2nd Kings chapter 13, verse 20. And Alayasha'o, who is Elisha, died, and they buried him, and the bands of the Moabites invaded the land at the coming of the year. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that, behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into the sepulchre of Alayasha'o. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Alayasha'o, he revived and stood up on his feet. We know that Alayasha'o had double the anointing power of Alayah, who is Elijah, which now we come to understand that the holy powers at work for Alayasha'o was equate of Alayah. That's where the anointing power came from the holy powers. Okay? It wasn't that the prophet Alayasha'o died and the holy powers went with him, or that the anointing power was within him. Remember, these angels can only work externally with us. But it was the work of the same holy powers who were with him in life, now displaying this miracle at his death. And notice, this occurred only once, never to be repeated again. It was the last great miracle that was wrought by the holy power by just touching the bones of Alayasha'o long after he died. It was the last time, and it was done this way for a purpose, for a reason. This man that had died, Alahayam wanted to bring him back alive, so he sent the holy powers to wait there so that when he was lowered down in the sepulchre of Alayasha'o, that the powers will revive him. Okay? But it wasn't that Alayasha'o's bones were full of power. No. This was the work of the holy powers. And they were sent by Alahayam to do this thing. This is showing us the greatness of Yahweh and how he uses his holy angels to carry out his will for his purpose. Like all other times where a word or an item was used to activate the holy powers, as according to Alahayam's commands. So it was the same with the bones of Alayasha'o. The bones of Alayasha'o was just an instrument for the people to think, well, they touched his bones because he was an anointed prophet, but he was anointed because Alahayam had sent the holy powers to be with him, just like he sent the holy powers to be with our forefathers. So now when you look at all the miracles that our forefathers have done, it was by these holy angels, walking with them, going with them wherever they went. But after Hamashiach died and rose again and released Ruach HaKadash, now another, we see a transition of that power from the holy powers being used and Ruach HaKadash endowing the people of Alahayam. Okay, we see that transition from external to internal. This is what Alahayam wanted originally, to empower Adam and Hawa if they had obeyed him and eaten from the tree of life. Okay, but now from that point of time when they were thrown out of the Garden of Eden up to the time when Hamashiach died and rose again and released his Ruach, we did not have access to Ruach HaKadash internally. All right? We had access to the power of Alahayam Yahweh through his angels. Even Hamashiach came as an angel of Yahweh. But what he wanted to do now, he wanted to change that scenario where his people are helpless with the exception of angels working on their behalf. He wanted them to do or to be filled with his power to do his will. So that when we speak, his power from within us will do his will. And what activated that power within us is faith. And what keeps this power growing and maturing is faith. Because it took faith for us to believe that he exists, that he is. It took faith for us to believe in his son, that his son came to the earth, he died and rose again. And now we have access to the Father through the Son. We also believe that without the remission, without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sin. So now that Hamashiach has died and rose again, we have access to his eternal blood, the purging of his blood. His blood now can purge us eternally of our sins. And not only that, but now we are wrapped. This nature within us, this evil nature within us is wrapped, cloaked in his righteousness. So now we can enter in to that realm where he is. We're welcomed. And when we enter into that realm, even though we can't see what's going on, when we begin to pray, things start to happen in the spiritual realm. You don't even know it. You can't see it, you can't hear it. Sometimes He allows us to see through either a vision or a dream. Something's happening on this earthly realm that is out to get us, and He tells us to pray. And then things are turned around. And you think, oh, well, this person probably just changed it. No, they didn't change their mind. It is the power that is within us. When we start to pray, then it is released to change the circumstances, change the situation. Okay? And this is the reason why Alahayam want us to be filled with His power. Because when you're walking full of the power of Alahayam Yahweh, it's like a repellent. The darkness can't get close. Okay? It repels the darkness. Okay, let's read on. Ka'apa'a, well, the apostles that Ka'apa'a was indeed okay, let me go back up. Alayasha'o was an obedient servant of Alahayam, and he did what was spoken to him, and he spoke what was spoken to him, and he spoke what was also, oh wow, I okay, let me read that over. And he did what was spoken to him, and he spoke what was also spoken to him to speak. Tongue twister. But the power that he displayed through the miracles that he wrought came from an external source, the holy powers, while the apostles like Ka'apa'a was indeed anointed with power from on high, being filled with Ruach HaKadash. And so signs and wonders followed them as the source of their power was internal. Where the holy powers were limited as to how many people they could work on behalf of, all at the same time, Ruach HaKadash is unlimited as to how many people he can work through, all at the same time. And the awesome thing about Ruach HaKadash, he's not limited with time. Okay? Yet at the end of it all, Alahayam's will and purpose was always fulfilled. So even though these holy powers were limited, they still fulfilled Alahayam's will and purpose. Okay? Perfectly. They did it perfectly. Let's go to Acts chapter 2, verse 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. So you hear what is coming? Wind. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were filled with Ruach HaKadash and began to speak with other tongues, as Ruach gave them utterance. So this is what Alahayam wanted to do with man when he first created him, to fill him completely with his Ruach. Now, Adam and Hawa, they had the light, they had the glory of Alahayam Yahweh, but he wanted to take them one step up. Okay? He wanted to make their situation, the way how they were, permanent by causing them to eat of the tree of life. But before eating of the tree of life, he gave them a situation that would cause them to choose. either to be obedient or disobedient. Now remember, they were newly formed. They hadn't gone through anything yet. Everything to them was new. We today, when we are born or when we have children and our children are young, they depend on their parents, grandparents, and other family members to train them up because they have been around, not the youngsters. Okay? But Adam and Hawa, they were the first to be created. And so everything was brand new. Everything that they were learning was brand new. But Alahayam still wanted to move them up. He wanted to give them the power that Gadriel lost. And he wanted to make their situation permanent, meaning if they had chosen to be obedient, they would have been holy and righteous, and then they would have been one with him. Not saying that they weren't one with him because they had his power, but something happened that caused them to look the other way. If you understand what I'm saying. Because if they were one with him, then they would not have been tempted to do what the serpent told them to do, what Gadriel told them to do, which is to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So they were at a crossroads where if they had chosen correctly, they would have blossomed in their relationship with Alahayam Yahweh, and they would have blossomed in the glory that he would have endowed them with. However, we know how that story turned out. They were tempted, they fell prey to the temptation, and then it set the pace for mankind up to this day to be constantly battling against evil, against temptations, provocations. Okay? What makes us different from Adam and Hawa is that we have generations of history to look upon, to see what worked, what didn't work. And even though we are still to some degree disadvantaged over our forefathers who had the pure word, we are at a better vantage point than they were because of Ruach HaKodesh who was released to us. Our forefathers did not need faith, and they had all the miracles happening on their behalf. They had the holy powers working on their behalf. And so many of them operated with zero to little faith. The righteous ones operated in full faith, but there were few. Us today, in order for us to enter in the kingdom of Alahayam Yahweh, in order for us to make it, Alahayam, he doesn't need to show us miracles like he showed our forefathers. But what he is doing with us is to provoke us to righteousness and holiness, to provoke us to build our faith in Him. And once we endeavor to build our faith, to strengthen our faith by exercising our faith, then what happens is that we see His power manifesting in our lives, which reinforces our faith and cause it to blossom even more. Because in this day and age, Alahayam does not want us to rely on our seeing, our sight. He wants us to rely on faith, which will be our spiritual insight. You see, because He understands that these devils today, they can manifest things that can cause us to believe that they are from Alahayam. But if we are walking by faith, and now we are endowed with this holy power on high, then when we see the manifestations, we know what they are. We know it's not from Alahayam Yahweh because it does not resonate with us. You see, if the power was from Him, it would resonate with us. But because it doesn't come from Him, it does not resonate with us, so we reject it. And so today, Alahayam is building a people to be unlike any generation before us, even greater than Yahweh. Why? Because it was the holy powers activated that did the actual fighting. Yes, He released the 60-pound stone, but it was the holy powers that literally carried the stone to its mark. Even when He lifted it up, it was the holy power that was lifting it. And then it threw it. But to onlookers, it will look as if Yahweh was lifting that mighty boulder. But with us today, we have that power within us to be able to do things of that nature and even greater, if it calls for it. So do you understand the difference? So He is building a unique people today. And that's why, if you ever wondered why you have to go through so much, this is the reason why we are going through so much. Is because He is building a unique people, unlike any generation before us. Okay? The evil powers will continue on with their magical powers until the day they are destroyed. Today we are seeing them manifesting their might through varying nefarious means. The world is being desensitized by the influx of mysterious activities in the heavens and on the earth, with no explanations as yet. Don't let these drones and orbs fool you. And these mysterious comets that are flying by, don't let these things fool you. Let me tell you something, right? These are one of two things. Either they are Nephilim technology at work, or they are evil powers at work. Okay? None of these things that you're seeing happening is from Alahayam Yahweh. Take it from me. And they're doing this, they're patrolling the heavens because they know something's about to happen. And that's why Hamashiach said in the 3 days of darkness, when it comes, he's going to paralyze these, he's going to overthrow these same powers because they're searching and waiting and watching to see when he is coming. But what they don't understand is that the darkness is coming first to paralyze them. Okay? Do not be distracted with all the drama surrounding these things. They're there to distract you. You focus on getting yourself ready. And certainly don't let fear come in. But we're not to fear, as we have the greatest power there is, and that is Alahayam, who's in full control of these fallen angels. We have his power in us. They are afraid of us when we believe in Hamashiach and we're filled with the power of Alahayam. We become a danger unto them. Okay? And most of all, when we believe in Hamashiach, we will have the greatest power dwelling within us, and so they will fear us instead. I feel like I'm repeating myself. But if I'm repeating, it's important for you to hear. Okay? We have his power in us. Their job is to try to stop us from reaching, from tapping into that power, because they know once we tap into that power, we're hooked up. They're done. Okay? They're done. They have no more access to us. And that's why they are doing their due diligence to try to convert, transform us from the inside. Because if foolish people believe in the lies and the deception and go and take something that would change them on the inside, they know that we're doomed. Okay. So this is the ending of powers. We're going to move into the principalities and archangels next. We're going to take a look at that and see what they are about. So these powers, the holy powers, are the last of the unusual angels, so to speak. Because remember, we look at the seraphs, the seraphims. Let me repeat that. The seraphim, the cherubim, the spirits, the Ophanim, and now the powers, the holy powers. They're all unique types of angels because they don't have, they're not fully human looking. Some of them have some likeness, some of them have no likeness whatsoever. And some of them don't even have a form, like the spirits and the powers. Okay? So the next sets of angels now are the ones that we can most relate to because they look like us. They look like a person. All right? And with that, I will now read the blessing for Yashua taken from Bab Madabar, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. That's the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yashamlak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to recite the command we were instructed to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in, taken from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. That's the Barayam chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Shama'o Yashwa'al, Yahweh Alahayana, Yahweh Ahad, Wa Ahabath Ath, Yahweh Alahayak, Bakal Babak, Wabakal Napashat, Wabakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your Alahayam with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And with that I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam, all praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.